Corinne Pachma, Editor-in-Chief of City and State, and this is Last Look. Today, our guest is the President of the United Federation of Teachers, Michael Mulgrew. Michael, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure.
We've heard a lot about the Get Out the Vote operation that you're doing for the Thompson campaign. Is the U of T running the show there? Are you, to what degree are you playing a part there?
We're working with our members, that's approximately. We've done so many phone calls, door knocking, canvassing of the members. I was out in Eastern Queens on Saturday, and we asked for a couple of dozen volunteers, and 250 showed up. Which was a big of a problem because the diner couldn't fit everybody, but that's the kind of enthusiasm we're getting. We've made over 200,000 phone calls. We've knocked on 35 to 50,000 doors. We're getting, these numbers are coming in constantly, but it's really about pushing out that vote, and we're hoping, we feel comfortable that the campaign's doing its thing. And we're feeling this energy, this surge really happening, and that's what we assumed and what we were hoping for when we endorsed Bill, is that in that last week, because Bill always closes strong, and it seems pretty clear to us that's what's happening right now.
Do you see this as kind of a race for the runoff at this point, or to come in second based upon how the polls have been showing the race?
Well, I'm not a big believer in polls, especially the public polls that have been reported, and I would say that if my candidate was on top, I just don't believe in them because they've been so wrong so often. Somebody should write a story about it, how often they've been wrong.
We did.
Yes, thank you. But with 5 people in the race, common sense on the streets telling us it's probably going to be in a runoff, but it doesn't have to be. And we think that as we know that Thompson's surging, and we're hoping we don't have to get to a runoff.
The Post and the Times both cited the U of T as a reason why they didn't endorse Bill Thompson for mayor. I mean, what do you make of those editorials?
Well, when the New York Post writes it, I say thank you. The New York Times editorial board, saying that somebody is in the pocket or influence, I thought it was really below the Times standard, but I've seen that more and more lately. Taking a shot at it, because we stood up to Bloomberg. Probably it's because the Times had backed the Bloomberg educational policies, which have clearly failed. So maybe they're a little mad because we're the people who made sure everybody knew what was going on inside of the schools, and maybe it's a little bit payback. But I don't believe that's the reason they didn't endorse Billy Thompson. I think they should have just told everyone the truth instead of trying to use us as their reason.
Do you think the teachers have been scapegoated throughout this election?
No, just the editorial pages, really. The people of New York City love the teachers, and thank God. We've been out there with the parents on the front lines for years and years of an administration that hasn't listened to the parents and has degraded and attacked the teachers. So the communities where we work in, the grassroots work that we do, has been really positive, and it's been positive for years. I was in a church in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn yesterday, and they were doing a blessing of educators for the new school year, and I said, we thank you for doing this because we have been disrespected and really, not treated well at all. And our voice in terms of we were saying things were going wrong, but it's the fact that we have been there with the community. The community has stood with us, we have stood with them. That has allowed us to get to this point where we're at this crossroads where we see that there will be a brighter day for our school system.
Bill de Blasio has made the argument that because he'll be the only mayor who would have kids in public schools, that gives him greater perspective on the city's education system. I mean, do you think there's any credence to that?
No, it gives him a perspective on the school system, but during our endorsement process, look, the number one issue for us is education. And Bill Thompson's clearly has a better understanding of education than any of the candidates. Look, he was in charge of the Board of Education. He grew up with a mother who taught for 29 or 30 years. His daughter was a teacher. He understands education because of his life experience working in it. So he came in with that base knowledge. We're very happy that all of the candidates have made very, very sound statements about education. But for us, we know, the teachers know, we have to rebuild our school system. We want the greatest system in the country, and the best partner for us to do that with is Bill Thompson.
Yeah, you're saying that all the candidates had made strong stands about, or at least
About the policies of Michael Bloomberg.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, is there anyone that you feel could take us backwards, or do you think that we could be going in the right direction regardless of who the mayor is?
Joe Lhota could take us backwards. I see if once he was like, he liked what Bloomberg did, then I know he flipped and said, no, his policies have been damaging. Now he says we need to close more schools and just more co-located charter schools. I believe that's what his reports have been. But it's more about the city really is at a crossroads. It's education. Everyone says education's tied to the economy, which we know it is. But you need to have people who are going to listen to all of the communities, all of the boroughs, and that's why we're so strongly committed to Bill Thompson, because we think he's the person to get this done. It's not about politics now. It's not about, who can say the rhetoric the best way or deliver the line. It's about someone who we believe has the experience and the know-how to actually say, this is the problem, this is the plan to fix it, and this is how we're going to move forward to get it done, and actually gets it done.
If there's any one thing that you could do to positively affect the education system, what would be that step? If you could wave your magic wand and make something happen, what would be your number one wish?
First, supporting the schools and stop attacking them. But on a substantive policy change, right now, I don't think many of the people, the parents and the people in New York City understand that New York City is the only school district in this state that uses standardized tests to determine everything about a child. 100%, nothing else. And all research tells us do not do that, but it's only New York City. It's not the state telling you that you base a child's promotion on only a standardized test score. That's New York City's policy. It is not the state who tells you you can only grant access to gifted and talented programs or to specialized high schools based only on a test score. It's New York City that does that. And I think people have to understand, because you see so many parents outraged, it's as if they think that's coming from the state or from the federal government. No, this is unique to New York City, and it is a very bad policy, and it needs to be changed. You need multiple measures. What a child does, say this year, they'll go to school 184 days this year. What they do on 182 of those days is more important than how they do on those 2 days they're taking standardized tests. And we need to get back to that, because if we don't, we're not teaching our children the critical skills they're going to need to be successful in the world we live.
I mean, that doesn't seem to be what the Bloomberg administration has said, that our analysis of the kids is just predicated upon the tests. And have they been dishonest in how they portray the way that we're evaluating our kids?
Yeah, because they made the argument that everything in there, as far as they were concerned, test scores went up, they were good. Test scores went down, it was somebody else's fault. And they predicated everything on the test score. They're the ones who built the arguments around the test score. And then they're the ones who changed the policies on the test scores. And it's all research. Anyone, you could go to a second-year ed student in any college, and you don't do this. But this is a political ideology and not a research-based practical policy.
Why is it that you think that New York City's test scores are superior to the other urban centers in New York State?
Listen, when they compared us this year to them, I'm like, the scores are so low across the entire state. Are we really going to try to make an argument that we're doing better than everyone else?
We're failing better than other people?
Yeah, we're failing better than everyone else. That's not the argument. Today is yesterday was the opening of school, right? I have to go out and tell people, the Department of Ed had promised that this year that all the schools would have curriculum, have the textbooks and the supporting materials, because they didn't have it last year, the whole year. Lo and behold, school opens yesterday. Schools across the city, systematically, there's a problem. They do not have it again. Chancellor comes out, says it's not true. Go to the schools, they'll tell you it's true. It's just been really colossal mismanagement, and it was because it's been all driven by political ideology, not what is actually based on what's going to work for schools and kids. And that's why it's important to us that when Bill Thompson's mayor, that's what he's going to do, is to actually listen to the parents, look at the research, talk to the experts, and support the schools.
Mayor Bloomberg took a shot at you this week in New York Magazine, saying that you compared teachers to truck drivers. I mean, is that accurate? And what
don't
did you
ever
make of that
remember comparing a teacher to a truck driver or a truck driver to a teacher. The fact that Mayor Bloomberg took a shot at me, wow, I don't think that's news. We've had a rocky relationship.
And he also said that Kathy Black's failure of her chancellorship was largely because of the way that the media dealt with her. I mean, what is your response to that?
Well, I thought he was a media guy and she was a media girl. How did the media? They didn't know how to work with the media. I mean, honestly, for Mr. Accountability, Mike Bloomberg, be accountable.
I'm a public school parent, and my wife is on the PTA, and I hear from a lot of parents that they feel like there's not a role for the for the parents in the school system. How can we improve obviously we used to have the Board of Education, and we had, how should we involve parents in the system?
First of all, we have to re-empower school leadership teams. Which are supposed to be equal members of school staff and parents, and give them a real voice again. When parents have, you go into a building right now, you could have 5 different schools inside of one building, all being supported by 5 different networks, and no one can give, if you're a parent, you can't get an answer from anyone about a simple thing of, where does my child get a bus? What's the, where are the lunch forms? I mean, it's just absurd that the system is designed for people at DOE Central and not designed for teachers, students, and parents who are what the school system's all about. And we're happy about the work we've been doing with parents. We're about to start our 3rd year right now, where we do parent conferences in every borough. And the first time we did it, because we used to have one central one, and we'd do all these PDs and workshops, but then we changed. We said, why don't we have the parents from each borough form a committee, and they tell us what they want to learn about that day. And it's been highly successful, and those are the ideas that the Department of Ed should be doing. But we will continue to do that, and we hope the next Department of Ed, the next administration embraces this, and I'm sure they will.
What is it that you would like above all for people to understand about the UFT? It seems like oftentimes your identity as a union is either being being shaped by other forces. I mean, what is the greatest misunderstanding about the UFT that you feel is out there?
You're talking about a misunderstanding that's based upon editorial pages or specific daily newspapers here, who seem to have really gone off the beaten path to just attack us. Because we pushed back on the mayor. I mean, it really got worse when we started pushing back in public against the mayor. What I would like them to know is we're a union of people who have chosen to make their life's work helping others, whether it be teachers or nurses or daycare providers or guidance counselors. And that passion that they bring to their work every day is also the passion that they bring to the union, because it's really a group of people who, for some reason or another, one day decided that they wanted their life's work to be about helping others. And that's what we do.
Why would the dailies have propped up the mayor at the expense of the UFT?
Oh, I think you should go ask them, but I have a feeling it has something to do with relationships and other things, but it's pretty clear that that's what they decided to do.
It seems like there's been a lot of tacit allegations that you and the UFT and Bill Thompson made some sort of tacit agreement in exchange for your endorsement. Is there anything like that has occurred?
No, but I think it's kind of funny, because from people who make those type of allegations, I said, who has the best locks on their house? A thief. So people who do those type of things like to accuse others of it. We've been very comfortable and transparent about our whole process. We want a partner. That's what we want. Someone who's going to listen, and someone we can work with, and someone who we believe can get the job done.
Regardless of how it plays out in the primary, I mean, it seems like the UFT will be supporting the Democrat in November, based upon what you're saying.
Well, one of the conversations I've had with all of my colleagues in labor is, I said, look, the primary process is exactly about that. It's a primary process. In the end, we all need to be together. And I'm hoping that that's what we do.
Michael Mulgrew, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And that's it for this episode of Last Look. For more episodes, please join us on the web at cityandstateny.com.